Hello everyone. My name is Hanna Datsiuk. I'm a film critic. Welcome to DocuSpace.org, and today we're going to talk about special movie called Gwendolyn. And it's a story, it's an extraordinary story about what does it mean to be a strong person, how it might look, how it might not look. So the term kind of manifests itself in many different ways throughout the film. And today we're having a director of the film, Ruth Kaaserer. Thank you, Ruth, for joining us today.
Hey, thank you very much for inviting me.
Hi, so nice to have you. And before we start, I just wanted to tell everyone who's watching, we'll be having a little giveaway, a festival t-shirt with this year's visual. So me and Ruth will choose questions that we like most and give a t-shirt to its owner. So you can feel free to use this opportunity and to leave some questions in the comment sections below on the Facebook or like on YouTube, like whenever you're watching this this conversation. Ruth, I'll start with the obvious one. For me, Gwendolyn is unique at how she's not what you expect her to be. She's like fragile, she's lightweight, she's everything but a typical weightlifter. How did you met her?
That has to do with my previous film called Tough Cookies, about three young boxers in the USA. I wanted to kind of do a sequel of that very film, and was looking back then. I knew a pioneer boxer who is almost 90 years old now, a female pioneer boxer, and my idea was to make a film about her. She's fantastic, Barbara Buttrick. But then, you know, sometimes life situations change, and also boxers want to control a lot sometimes, which is very interesting. But I wanted to do a film about an aging woman who had already had an experience in her life in sports, and so I kind of I had to change the subject. And the good thing is, I told a friend, and she told that I was looking for a weightlifter. I don't know how I came up with weightlifting. I didn't know anything about weightlifting, and I thought either it had to be a pioneer it could also be another profession than sports. But for some reason, I really like the physical aspect of the sports, and so I told this friend, and she said, you know what, I know somebody who, a woman who is not that young anymore and who is a weightlifter also beside her other professional career. So I met Gwendolyn. I was by chance in London because back then my sister lived there, and she invited me over for dinner, and we had a long talk, and it was very interesting and very rich, the talk, and after a week we decided to make this film. So yeah.
And you told that your like previous potential protagonist was like too controlling, and
not too much, but
okay,
but she didn't want so much of her private life, which is understandable.
okay,
you know,
so this is like a matter of giving away your private life.
Yeah.
But Gwendolyn seems to me like a really tough woman, but not in a way like secretive tough, but like a woman who is like really controlling her narrative. Wasn't she controlling during this during the filming process?
Not really. I mean, she was very open to my ideas, but my ideas were always based on her life, on what I found. We spent a lot of time in between filming, in between our shootings, and everything we decided then was always kind of not really staged, but I said I want this or that, and I proposed to her beforehand, and she, most of the time she said it was fine. So actually she was not controlling at all, but she's a very controlled person. It's a lot about, it's to find that balance with her was also quite a way to walk. You know,
Yeah.
so we, and you know, the moment that I was looking for the moments where she would open up, where she would show emotions. That's with everyone like this, you know. And but I, not to give a misunderstanding about this idea I had before,
Yeah.
but boxing is a very is a sport where you control a lot. You have to, it's a contact sport, so you have to be very, very well controlled before you go into a ring. And in weightlifting too, you have to be controlled, but you are all by yourself with this weight. So it's a different kind of control, I would say.
Yeah, and also that's like you already started like to give a bits of it, but I was wondering how did you really get along with Gwendolyn, because
Mm-hmm.
she seems to be like a controlling, a very self-conscious, self-assuring person,
Mm-hmm.
and if I may say so, she's you know this the like the half of her face being half paralyzed. I think it's like a very strong visual metaphor of her inner toughness.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it would be really hard to get to her emotional side on the visual level. How did you try to manage this? Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, I got along because, to come to the first part of your question, I got along with her very well from the very first moment. I really liked her, and I liked her. You know, she sometimes challenges people, but never is never putting herself above a person.
mhm,
And that's something, she's very kind to people, and very, never sarcastic, or never, at least I never experienced anything like that, would never think about saying, you know, putting herself above another person. So, and that's something, a person who is like that, and she was, is very giving. So she was very giving to other people and very giving to the film, and I like that aspect very much about her. Um, that she would not, she's not expecting somebody to be like this or like that. She would just say, okay, I try to find a way how to deal with that specific situation or with that specific person, which as her illness also shows, you know.
mhm,
And but of course, coming back to your question, she she I would say she's very much behaved, you know, like a person that maybe wouldn't show it, her own feelings to other people in order not to bother them, you know. And also because she wants to be a strong person. She wants to be a person who can deal with certain things and who can face situations, and also her illness. And but she's somebody always looking, always trying things out, never giving up. If
mhm.
something doesn't work, she will find something else. And this was something that I really was very welcoming also for the film, because like this I could go and slowly show how many aspects she has, you know, that this one side, that her face is paralyzed, where you have the feeling she's very much reserved, maybe it's underlining that aspect, like you say, but there's a much more behind that. And I think the three men in the film, the side characters, her husband Charlie, her trainer Pat, and her son Joseph, and then also her a fourth person, her grandson Vinicius, allow her to show all these different aspects of her, because with each of them she has a different role. And that was something that was quite good, you know, to use also in a good way, I think, to show her strengths, I have a hard time pronouncing that word, and her weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually
yeah.
something that I noticed too, but maybe more about her son, because for me, this film is not only like about Gwendolyn itself, but the other side of the movie about like her motherhood, because at the beginning of the story, it seems like she's kind of tough at parenting, but then you see that she have this very deep, even intellectual, very closeness with her son, this connection with her son. And for me, this film was like a true discovery about how she managed, managed to raise a son like this, and how are they, like how their communications are, uh, like building itself throughout the film in this very whole picture. So that's what I was asking you, was intending to ask you. Was it like an intention to tell the story about Gwendolyn as a mother, or is it like something that just unveiled itself during the film?
Well, like I said before, it was also part. It was also part. She's a mother. She's a grandmother.
Mhm.
She she's an intellectual. She is a weightlifter, and she's a wife, and she's a friend. So she's just one of these many things, and she's sick also, and aging. So it's all these things that come together. But it was just a situation that she was a mother, and
Mhm.
she loved to be a mother from the very first moment. It was very important for her to be a mother and also to be a grandmother. And I really wanted to show that, yeah, because I think it's it can be so many things in a lifetime, and she was kind of a very good example to make things possible. Also, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
But
why do you think she chose weightlifting? Because
mm,
at some point in the film, the audience can hear that she's telling that she doesn't enjoy it. I mean, she doesn't enjoy being in the spotlight. So throughout the film, and this is like a kind of a revelation, because we hear that quote nearly the end of the film, and we are watching the story thinking that she's like very determined about her athletic career, because she's like truly enjoying it. She loves it. She's like, she wants to be a champion. And then it kind of turns out to be not, or am I wrong?
mm, well, I think she's just what she said is that she doesn't enjoy it. She tells that to Joseph, her son, that she never enjoyed being, like you say, being in the spotlight in weightlifting.
Mhm.
And but she still did it, you know. So sometimes you say something and you maybe mean something else. But I guess if she was always, I experienced that too, she was very nervous before the fights. And this nervousness was really never going away for her. And
Mhm.
this is something that maybe as an athlete can be very exhausting. But at the same time, because it's always there, but not in a moment, then on stage it goes away. But before the moment, um, before going out there, was very, very difficult for her. At the beginning, she also didn't want us to film there. That was one of the few moments where she said no. But I really wanted that, so I convinced her that we
Mhm.
could film that too, because it is important to show that you have some nervousness, that you would do something that, or you would take kind of that kind of, let's say, burden in order to be able to do, because she loves weightlifting. She still trains every day. So she stopped performing, but because it was not good for her health. But and also I think she had achieved enough, both maybe both things coming together. But she really enjoys this act of weightlifting because it does her good.
Mhm. And
And
she's not only an athlete, but also a retired anthropologist. Am I right?
well, more an Assyriologist and anthropologist. Has quite a lot of professions. Something that I never mentioned. She's also she was teaching architectural theory at university in London. Um, but that was just another part, connected also to Assyriology, I think.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
also, I heard,
and a writer, and a writer.
yeah, of course.
Mm.
And how's the book, by the way? How's the book going? Was it published?
The book was published, and it's very, very nice. You can order it online if you want. And
I think that would
it's,
be a good addition to the film. So if you
yeah,
like watch the movie, you can have a book
yeah,
also.
it's called
And
Gertrude Mabel May. And I think I'm not sure if it, but if Routledge, I think I'm not sure. Yeah, it's quite thick, so it's very, very nice. And she's about to publish her first German book
mhm.
also in a month, I think. Mhm.
Yeah, so I was actually back to her anthropology thing. Like throughout the film, I heard she was telling she's working on some study, and it was something about um, how about women power through generations or something like this. And actually, I find some connection in like this part with her weightlifting part. Do you see some maybe connection in it too? Because it seems like this is not only a story of a strong woman, but also a story of a strong woman trying to get in touch with the whole different generations of strong women. Because she's like an anthropologist and she's like deeply interested in that. Do you see some kind of connection in it or not?
Mhm.
Or is it just me?
Um, well, she's very open to she's very open to other women of younger generations. Is that what you mean? Or and I think what I realized when we screened it, especially when we had screenings for younger people,
Mhm.
that she really could be a role model, from the questions that the audience then asked. Um, that really even 11-year-old children were thinking, women and I mean boys and girls in this case, thought that she was a cool person to be,
Mhm.
and somebody, because she does what she wants without hurting other people,
Mhm.
and at least that's what she's trying, because sometimes you hurt someone without wanting, but
Mhm.
she's really a very responsible person. And I think especially that aspect, in the free person, a free mind, a free somebody who would challenge other ones by her actions. I mean, she's not free of that at all, and I like that part. But at the same time, she's caring, and because of that combination, it makes her so vivid and so also so present in a way.
Mhm.
And there for others, I think that aspect is really something that also was very important for me,
Mhm.
that somebody cares about other ones. And
And
and as
so-
it, and I think often you experience that in sports. I mean, the boxer I mentioned before, Barbara Patrick, is also like that, such a role model for um, and I guess that spirit is still in that film too, caring for others, caring for other generations, really fighting for others and especially for women, of course, to be who you want to be. Yeah.
Mhm.
And do what you want to do, and trying out and making mistakes, and then still if you can do it, and there's not such thing that a mistake will break you like that much that you can't go on or anything, because Gwendolyn is always trying, and she really, I mean, her health is really um giving her many
Mhm.
you say obstacles, I think. Yeah, many. It's
Yeah, yeah, of
sometimes
course.
hard, sometimes she can't open her mouth and can't eat very well, and has to use a straw for eating, and these kind of things she's experiencing since she has this illness for a long time. And so still she's never complaining much or so, yeah. Which might also have to do with she comes from a generation where and is it kind of a person that's like a tomboy girl, right? It's a
Yeah.
it's a person, and but I mean there's many different kinds of tomboys, and has not only from that generation, but from speaking of her generation, I would think to have to be strong, and to always have to be responsible,
Mm-hmm.
for your actions, and also maybe showing off in that sense sometimes. Yeah.
Well, it seems like she have like a really big background, but you chose not to tell a lot about her, like about her past, or you're not really trying to be specific about her illness. So this is not like an illness
Mhm.
fighting film, and it's also not like a life story, because we don't really know much about Gwendolyn. She's like very close, and on the top you're not telling her story. You're not like narrating her story. Why did you choose that approach?
Mhm. Well, when I met her first, there was so many stories, and I realized there's so much to tell, because she's a very active person, and in her past she was even more active, because with age you get a little bit more relaxed. So I thought it was almost impossible to tell that, and then also no need to do that. So I decided to start where I met her, and we agreed on making a film filming for a year over the time of a year, um, at specific times. And so that's what we did, and that made it much easier to deal with that life, just saying I don't need to pretend I know everything, because I don't, and but still give a feeling of this kind of a life she has.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to make a film about someone who has achieved something in life, and who wouldn't have necessarily the need to prove something, or to you deal with life differently when you when we did the film, she was 65. So she was not very old, but not very young, but still in her, later years. And I just wanted to show that kind of fragility also that comes when you age, and also that strength that comes with it. Um, so it's like something that it's a very interesting period in life, I think, yeah.
Mhm.
And then there was always a surprise. And so I was surprised also, because at the beginning I thought this would be a film about this woman who is intellectual, who has still an active weightlifting career, which is rare, I think. But so she really does something with her life. But then, because of her illness, she could not pursue this career in the sense of, competing, which of course, when you do a film about sports, that's maybe the most important thing, or it seems like at the most important thing, or most natural thing to do. And then I thought, how are we going to solve this? So we would have had to go to Germany, because there was like a world championship for weightlifters. And so then she said she can't compete anymore. And then, I always thought, how can we show her writing? Because, somebody behind a computer to film someone behind a computer is not it's not an interesting picture. So I had to really think about how can I bring in the writing, because there was very present. And this book about her grandmother and Gertrude Stein, and this experimental writer. And so I thought that really by her not being able to pursue this career really gave me the chance to change the film. You know, this was a great surprise. I think a film is always leading you somewhere that you don't know when you start doing it. So this was a fantastic moment, you know, to be able to follow that career more. Yeah. Yeah. So which was mainly the lecture, you know, in the film. Yeah.
And what were the challenges? Because you told me about how you got along, how the film changed throughout the process, and it was actually a good thing. But was there some challenges in this process?
Mm-hmm. Oh, many challenges, I think. Yeah,
And
there's
what was the
always,
hardest one?
yeah. I don't know, there was no hardest or so. The thing is, it was really a pleasure to work with her, and also with her, with everybody else surrounding her. Maybe all of them agreed, you know, like Joseph, her son, agreed, and Joseph was very natural. Pat was very natural in front of the camera. Vinicius, also her grandson. Um, and then, so all of that was going very well. Sometimes it was difficult to coordinate all of this, you know, because they have lives. You know, it really takes a lot when you do a film. You follow them, um, you change their whole life for this time, you know, being. And I think for this time, for this, as we agreed on a short time, I mean, you know, a year, it's not a short time, but it is a limited time. And we really, was important for me, you know, to not overdo this, just stay with that year. And Charlie, for example, that was a bit more difficult. Charlie is a very private person, her husband, and he would never go in front of a camera, you know. Everybody else likes the camera much more than he does, and Charlie was not. He did it for Gwendolyn, I think, and also, but we had a very good relationship with him, but and still have that, but it was you know, I don't think he would have liked the film, but I really was very happy that he agreed on participating. Yeah.
And what about Gwendolyn? Does she like the film?
If she likes the film, I think so. I never asked her if she likes the film, but I remember when it's not easy to see yourself the first time in a finished film. I never showed her anything before. So only in pre-shooting, you know, but then when we really decided now we start the filming process for the film, I would not show her anything and not talk with her about this part. But so we showed her the finished film, and I think that, of course, to see herself like this, you know, also with her half paralyzed face, that's a big deal. And I think there's something, especially then, you know, first you show it, you see it in a screening, on a smaller screen, but still a bigger screen than home, a laptop. And then the next time in a big cinema and with all the audience. And that must have been quite a thing for her. She told me that also, you know, to see herself like this, you know. And I think it takes a lot to be able to see yourself like this, you know, to accept that it's different when you look into the mirror and you get used to it, or if you see yourself on a big screen and you talk, you hear your voice. I remember because her voice also changed because of the many surgeries. And I only know this voice, but for her, that was also, you know, something to see, to experience that voice together with an audience, I think, yeah. But I think she likes the film, and we made a tour together through Austrian cinemas and often presented the film together. We presented it together in London, and she came to many festivals, and she really enjoys that part. She loves talking to the audience, and she wanted to come also to the Docu Days UA, but then she got really sick, so she couldn't come. I'm sure she would have loved that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess everyone who watches the film would ask like one first question: how is she doing right now?
Um, she's doing well. I mean, she's in London, so she can't go anywhere else right now, like everybody, because of the situation. So she's not used not to travel, but she's a very proud grandmother of now. I mean, Joseph has 3 children now, and so she's helping him sometimes, you know, and she's very happy in that role. And she's writing that book, and so she's always doing something. I mean, like when in the first quarantine, she she started to learn Korean, just like this. So she's always looking for a challenge, and it's quite amazing, I think. And now it's very difficult with the health situation was not fantastic. But I think it's okay. But right now the situation in the health system in the UK is not necessarily fantastic. Yeah. So that's a bit more. I don't think it's anything to worry about right now, but of course, you know, you can't go like this to hospital, and it's wait times, long wait times. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but I think she's doing fine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I talked to her a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, so you still in touch? Yeah.
Yeah, we're still in touch, but now I haven't seen her in a long time because it was not possible.
Yeah, because for me, this this film works so well because this is like a prototype of a strong woman, and it really works outside of sports or illness-beaten niches, and I guess that's why your film is not quite easy to classificate, like I said, like a film about cancer or athlete movie or something like this, because there's many parts of it
Mm-hmm.
uh, combined actually. And I also thought about, you were telling about the picture, about how all the characters were like liking or not liking the camera. And I actually noticed one thing, that you prefer to stay close to Gwendolyn, like at her home or at gym or at the championships. You were telling like you were trying to film her nervousness and so on, but still there's some scenes in which I can clearly see that you were giving her some space. And like maybe when she's like on the balcony or when she's like on nature somewhere, uh, was it because she was trying to like maybe get some distance from camera, or was it you giving her some distance from the camera? I mean,
Mm.
was she fast used to the camera, or was she like trying to hide from it sometimes?
No, she never was trying to hide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this case, it was always our choice to say Serafin Spitzer's choice and my choice, who is the camera person for Gwendolyn. So it was always our choice, because I think it would be you I think it's better for if you make the choice, not the character, you know, to escape or anything. And if she would have done that, I would have stopped, I guess, because there was no need to do that. She was so welcoming, really welcoming the film and the camera. She really enjoyed that. And she was really very good to work with. And I have to say, in general, I think that's an important thing. It's great that you as a filmmaker have, or I as a filmmaker in this case, I have to discover, I have to try, I'm the one to tell the story, you know, that's my job, of course, to know how to put all of this together, and also to find what aspects can I show, what is interesting for this film, what is not. And this is something, I guess that's the job of the filmmaker, basically, you know,
Yes, right.
to tell that, and then also to realize how, when is it important to be close and when it's not. And it was very important for me to give her space and also to give everybody else space. Yeah.
And do you have a favorite scene from the film?
Mm. I mean, now I haven't watched it in a long time. What I really like,
Is something that you like
yeah,
really like kept in your mind?
mm, um, well, many scenes, because everything that's touching me, you know, that's emotional, that's always the things that will stay, that are related to my own emotions. What I really like is when she's with Pat in the mountains, and
Mhm.
then, you know, they sit there for a while on the mountain and enjoy this quite amazing landscape. And there also was a moment, you know, when it was clear that she would have to stop, you know, competing. So it's a period in life is ending. And that's also always an important, strong moment for an individual person. And then they go down, and Pat helps her, and he gives her his hand. He offers her his hand. So and then they go down like this, hand in hand. And um, this it's a very important scene for me, because there's no need to talk about it. In fact, it's you know, it's a very strong friendship. And friendship is a love story, of course, too.
Mhm.
So, and then it also, you know, tells a lot about aging, you know, many things that and then there's, you know, night is it's getting darker already, you know, while they walk down, it's getting darker, and then they are there with the bus driver, and Gwendolyn smokes a cigarette there, you know, which I really wanted her to smoke a cigarette, because it's not that she smoked at that time of her life, but I saw that she always spoke about the cigarettes that were on the streets in the city. And then I thought, you know, just a reference to old movies where you could still smoke, which nowadays is not happening that much anymore. I just wanted that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's
Well,
also, yeah, questioning that aspect, what an athlete has to be. Yeah. So
well,
yeah.
I guess for me, although it's too cheesy, but the final scene is really kind of manifesto for me, because she's very different type of protagonist. She's at peace with herself. She doesn't have to prove anything, as you said. And from for me, this film is not like an examination of a person trying to open her, but rather like a demonstration of how complex she is and how it's actually hard to deconstruct her as a protagonist unless she will do it by herself. And the final scene, actually, for me, is that scene when she's opening herself in the very end, because she's letting everyone else to know her better. So and it's happening not throughout the film, but well, okay, it's happening throughout the film, but it's actually like very revealing only in the end of the film. So yeah, that's why the final scene for me is very, very strong.
Mm.
And as if I'm not wrong, you are both from Austria, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what else is your common ground? I mean, it doesn't seem for me that you were only a distant viewer filming a story. Like, in other words, is Gwendolyn only about Gwendolyn, or does it have something about you?
Um, it has a lot about me too, but that's always very complex. I think every film has to do with the person who makes the film first, why you are interested in certain aspects, why you choose subjects, why you get along with that very specific person, maybe the person is very different, maybe the person is at the same time there's some similarities with that person, that's something that would be hard to tell. But I think I was just very challenged by that, her personality, being so open, and then not opening up. It's just leaving things to herself too, um, and that thing always trying something out. I was just very. I think that's something fantastic if somebody is able to see what's there and to see the beauty in things. Like I think in one scene she says, "Is there?" That she's conscious. I think no, it's not her saying that. It's when she talks with Joseph. That's also an important scene about her son Joseph, about death, in fact. And they talk about Joseph's father, Ibrahim, and who unfortunately died later. Really, after that, he had lung problem, a severe lung problem, and so Joseph really was, confronted with the situation, then also with this big fragility of his mom due to her illness. And they talk about this, and then they talk, so she so nicely says, and he loved to watch the clouds and just sit there and watch the clouds, and she could do that too. She could just sit there and enjoy something so simple, and like, for example, I love that too. I just like to sit and just watch some whatever, mountain or yeah. So it's something that a lot of people, I think, like, yeah, where they don't have to be active and can just watch a cloud, or without having to think that you have to do so many things, or you don't have to think about all the sorrows you have in life, which many people have. Yeah. Yeah, all of us, I guess, in a way. Yeah. Yeah, but just forget about these things and do a very simple thing. And I think for me she really symbolizes that this is okay to do that. Yeah.
And so, do you think you have something in common with Gwendolyn, like maybe some similarities? Maybe you can like
Mm.
find yourself in Gwendolyn,
Well, that's hard to say, but of course
because
um
you said you get along really well.
yeah, yeah, I
Or
like
maybe
also
it was like an opposite attraction.
um both of it, maybe. I think I would say both of it, because I'm not that into, I mean, I read books, but Gwendolyn often asks me, do you read this and this? Do you know these books? But of course you must have read this. But many books I didn't read. And I told her, no, I didn't read these kind of books. And it was very funny, this kind of, challenge, that she always played off camera. But she would not be, she's a very fast reader, very fast. And really we talked a lot about books, because it's always interesting, you know, when you have time to talk about and we ate together and many things, then you talk about all the things that you're interested in besides filming. But I would not, in that sense, we wouldn't have any similarities or not that many, but in other things, we like simple things. I also, when something doesn't work out, I will try to find another solution. So I guess that's something that I can relate to.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I also Gwendolyn can be very hard to herself. And I could be that too, I guess, yeah. So we have definitely have some similarities, and I also care about people, so, and about my surroundings, and yeah, so we have some similarities, and then maybe not. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Um, this is your second feature-length documentary, am I right?
Yes.
Yes, and it came right after Tough Cookies. You already mentioned the film, and as I noticed, both of them examined the topic of women in some kind of struggles through physically demanding, male sports. Can you tell me a bit more about Tough Cookies? And
Mhm.
also, I'm really interested of what kind of transition did you made as a director examining the topic throughout this like two films?
Well, in Tough Cookies, that was my first film, my first long film. I was really interested in the movement of the sports. I mean, also with Gwendolyn too, it's very different movement. But also in what is a person that does such a controlling sport? And there, when I did Tough Cookies, I was also interested in, without talking or judging them, just watching them while they train and how they lead their lives. It's very tough. It's very much concentrated on the sports. It's nothing it really comes from inside. If you do boxing, you can't. It's a very, very specific personality. Like I said before, it's a person that really, and they are all very individual, of course, yeah. But it's really something that feels they need to do this. It's nothing, you won't do boxing, say, now I want to do boxing because I heard it's an interesting sport. It's nothing that it really comes from within. So
Mhm.
I wanted to show that, and I wanted to show women doing that, or, also um, who would be very different one from the other one, and then but all connect through something that you call a boxer's heart. And that's what I just explained, or what I would think is a boxer's heart. Somebody who can't do otherwise. And women and also transgender people, um, and had to go over so many obstacles while I was filming in order to make this an Olympic sport. And of course, it would have been natural to just make a film about this. But I somehow just felt it was the right thing to just stay with this heart and
Mhm.
just not talk about these politics in the game, but rather talk about or show these three characters who are so different one from the other one, and how they lead their lives. And I choose for boxers who they are not wealthy, they could be maybe wealthier, but because they chose for the sport and live their life according to the sport, they choose to be extremely individualists. And also in a way, I wanted to show this lonesome, yeah, in a way or maybe they wouldn't even call it like that, but that's what I felt.
Mhm.
That, but chosen, yes, but chosen by the heart, yeah. And that was something that I admire, that also with Gwendolyn, that you choose for something, no matter what comes, you do it and you follow that, and you, no matter what kind of obstacles are there, you just do it. Yeah. And I think that's something, that's what I still get excited when I can watch a good boxing match. I think it's fantastic, and it's tough also. It's but it's also very liberating. And usually, if a sports person is a good sports person, they are not mean to each other, even though it's tough. You know, they hit each other. So it could be also in professional sports. It can be dangerous. In amateur boxing, Olympic boxing, most of the cases not, because there's a lot of protection and a lot of rules to prevent hurting. But of course, it's tough, and it's something that it just touched me, kind of, you know. So how to, it's something it takes. Christy Halbert, she was the coach of Trio Tool in the film. She's a stunt, you know, there's two boxers in the film, and one stunt woman, Trio Tool, who used to be a boxer in her past. And she talks with her coach, Christy Halbert, who is also an intellectual, who has an amazing gym in Nashville, Tennessee. And when I was there, it was called Boxing Resource Center. So it was really also, she would see boxing as a team sport, that you need your team partners, that also an intellectual thing, but something coming from the heart, yes, but also intellectual, that you have to study, you have to have a very good technique in order, also in, you know, boxing, weightlifting, all these kind of heavy sports, you have to be very controlling and very disciplined and have good technique, otherwise you will hurt yourself. And I think all these kind of aspects was something that interested me. And Christy said that boxing is a team sport, and also that boxing, a good boxer would not, that it takes a lot of courage to go into the ring. Yeah. And I think it takes that with boxing and with weightlifting too. Otherwise you wouldn't do it. Yeah.
I guess that would be my last question, but do you feel like you've made some kind of a transition, or like your change as a director, researcher, between those two films? Because you can't but not to
Yeah.
compare those two
Yeah.
films.
I would say it was the personal aspect, because, you know, in Tough Cookies, it was very hard for me to cover their personal lives, because they were always on the move and always these changing situations, and it was hard to follow them to their work, because there was no permission for that. And so it was always about the boxing, which I also welcomed. But I really then wanted to work with someone who said, yes, I love the camera, I'm vain enough, I love that, even though, you know, you know, somebody might say my physical appearance might not be what other people would like to watch. But I think in case of Gwendolyn, I just love to watch that, you know, her physical appearance. And I just thought she was so beautiful from the very first moment I met her. And then I was so happy to have found someone being so open for the project. Yeah. Yeah. And to show some weakness in this privacy also, you know. Yeah.
So
Basically, I
I
think.
guess I asked anything I could, and even our viewers don't have any questions, because my moderators are telling like you asked everything.
Okay.
So I guess that would be it, and I thank you so much for this conversation and for letting me know you better and letting me know Gwendolyn better, because it was really interesting to talk to a person who find this unique woman. And I deeply encourage everyone to watch the film if you haven't. And if you've already watched the film, you can try to find the book, because that's what I'm going to do. because I really hope there's some background about Gwendolyn in the book, and I'm really interested in how she's telling her own story in her own way. So thank you again, Ruth, for joining us today.
Mhm.
I hope
Thank
to
you.
hear from you in the nearest future.
Thank you very much. I just have a look what kind of, for the publishing house. And
Oh, let's see.
I could just have a quick, the book is called Gertrude Mabel May. Let me just see. And I now, let me just, I have to go back. Just,
Well, you can maybe send me some.
yeah, I could send you because now maybe you can, but if you look for Gertrude Mabel May, and because I don't see the publishing house here now on what I found. So yeah, I see that. I just, yeah, that's the title of the book. Yeah. And if you have a chance, it's really interesting to read, because it's very playful also, the book. Yeah. It is, of course, sometimes something, it's a dry, like in Gwendolyn's language, which is something dry sometimes, and then it's very witty at the same time. So it's very interesting, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll try to find it.
Well, and thank you very much too.
And I'll see you, and I'll see all of you very soon, and watch the film Gwendolyn on Turkish Space.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, can I just say something about,
Sure.
I just wanted to thank the audience in the Ukraine, because when I came to the festival, I was quite amazed because everyone was so interested in the films. And when I watched a film by somebody else, and I was sitting beside a person, we would talk about each other's professions and, exchange. And then there were so many questions from the audience when I had the talk, when we presented Gwendolyn, but also in every other film, people were so interested and so open, and came after work right straight to the festival. And that was quite something to experience. It was very special. Yeah. Thank you.
You. Nice to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we'll be happy to have you again in Ukraine, maybe with
Thank you.
some
Thank
new
you very
films.
much, Anna. Sorry.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.